Welcome back to the DSR channel, day 86. Working on a goal of getting to 2,000 subscribers this week, which is crazy. We're at over 1,300 right now. Really appreciate everybody who's been with me and who's who's been joining to offer their support. It's so helpful. It makes a huge difference and it is very motivating. Okay, but we're covering the new book, Eberron, Forge of the Artificer. And this is the last subclass now, the Cartographer. And this one's brand new, so I'm going to go full screen with this one. I'm not going to compare to the UA. I think that would just be confusing and doesn't really add anything in this case. And I'm also going to take a little more time to go and read more of the flavor text on this one because it is completely new. So, Cartographer. Chart advantageous courses through turmoil. Cartographers are the premier navigators and reconnaissance agents. Using their creations, cartographers can highlight threats, safeguard allies, and carve portals to distant locations. Level 3, Tools of the Trade. You gain the following benefits. Tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with calligrapher's supplies and cartographer's tools, and you can swap them, choose something else if you already have those. Calligrapher's supplies are great because that's required for crafting scrolls. And cartographer tools can be great if your DM uses them, right? So rules is written in 2024 in the player's handbook and in Xanathar's guide since 2017. If you roll a ability check, a skill check, using a skill that applies and a tool that applies, and you're proficient with both, you now roll with advantage, not just your proficiency bonus, but also advantage. Yes, that's rules as written. So if you make a survival check to navigate somewhere, and your DM says you can use cartographer tools and the survival skill, which they definitely should allow that, then you roll with advantage whenever you're navigating. And I definitely do that. And I haven't created the wisdom skills video yet, but I did the knowledge skills video where I talked about how I do this and using an approach that makes both skill proficiencies and tool proficiencies feel way more valuable. And I encourage every DM to do that, right? Let your let your players use their skill proficiencies and their tool proficiencies so that it's meaningful, right? They probably spent some time choosing meaningful things for their character that they thought was going to be thematic or for their identity or flavorful. And it feels great when you make it worthwhile, when you make it valuable. So you should do that. And when it feels great to them, that means they're having more fun. And if they have more fun, you have more fun, right? That's how this whole thing works. Okay. The last time I'm going to say that today. Next, you get scroll crafting. So this is, the subclass feature they get for crafting is that they can craft spell scrolls in half the time. And the spell scroll table for crafting spell scrolls is in the player's handbook, not the Dungeon Master's guide. So here it is right here. This is how many days it takes to craft a scroll, and this is how much it costs. So you don't get the reduction on the cost, but you get to cut this time in half. So you can make a level 1 spell scroll in half a day, or you can make 2 in 1 day, right? So you're cutting all this time a level 9 spell scroll in 60 days. Still costs you 50,000 gold pieces, but you can do it in 60 days. Which is, I think, a good feature. Interestingly, there's a point where you reach where you have the permanent magic items you need, right? You're going to craft the 1 or 2 that you couldn't get or didn't find, and now you have all the permanent magic items that you need that you can access at this tier, right? You're tier 3, and so you're only getting like very rare items, right? And you've got that, right? You've got them all, and you don't need more. But it is always beneficial to have more spell scrolls, right? To just have more spells you can just cast by reading a scroll. So in a lot of ways, this one and the alchemist's potion crafting are better than the others because you can, it's always good for to have more scrolls and more potions, and you can be handing those out to people. They're drinking potions as a bonus action. And they could be casting spells from your spell scrolls as long as that spell is on their spell list. It's really good. Okay, this is solid. All right, moving on to the cartographer spells at level 3 they get. And they get Fairy Fire, Guiding Bolt, Healing Word. So they get one more first level spell automatically prepared at level 3 than the other subclasses. Um, it's okay. Guiding Fairy Fire is okay. Guiding Bolt is okay. Healing Word is good. That's the best that they get of the pick that they get at level 3 by far. They just don't have these. I don't recommend Guiding Bolt for a half caster. You just don't have the spell slots to be throwing away on a single attack. Um, Yeah, it's a tough one. Fairy Fire is decent though. It gets outclassed pretty soon by other support spells, but it's an okay support spell in tier 1. Then at level 5, you get Locate Object, which is actually one of the better locate spells because it has a bigger range, and you don't need to know the person specifically. You can just look for, whatever you remember that person wearing, right? An orange cloak, right? Locate orange cloak. There's probably not that many, and you find the person at a longer range than Locate Creature, which you also get, but isn't as good. Mind Spike, a single target damage spell. It's not a very good damage spell, but it does give you the benefit of always knowing where that creature is while you maintain concentration, which is very thematic for the Cartographer. Still not a great spell. So these two, this is kind of a weak level in the spells there. Like Locate Object, I don't think it's come up more than once or maybe 3 times in all of my time DMing 5th edition. You know, I don't know, maybe just the kind of demographic of players I play with, but I've seen it cast maybe 3 times. Call Lightning and Clairvoyance at level 9. Call Lightning is not a great spell. It's a little better. They made it a little better in 5th edition, but sorry, in 2024 version, but it's still not very good. Still takes your action, and you could just be throwing down cantrips as your action for almost as much damage, but concentrating on something better. So Call Lightning's not a great spell. Clairvoyance is pretty good. Is like good. Banishment is a solid control spell. Unfortunately, it's not very good on a half caster because you do not have a lot of 4th level spell slots, and you don't even get 5th level spell slots to level 17, and you'll never have more than 2. So you can't even upcast it like a full caster would. Like a wizard getting banishment at 9th level, and then when they have a lot more spell slots and a lot higher level spell slots in tier 3 and 4, they can upcast it and target like 3 or 4 creatures and banish all of them. You can't do that. The best you can do is spend one of your 2 5th level spell slots after you reach 17, and you can maybe banish 2 creatures. So banishment's not a good spell on a half caster, in my opinion. Locate Creature, that's not a good locate spell. The range is like 1,000 feet, and you have to have a level of familiarity, or you're going to just find any humanoid, which maybe there's a bunch of them. Scrying, that one's pretty decent, and Teleportation Circle is a good one. So this is not a great list overall, but it is a decent list for somebody who wants to be that versatile knowledge, character, right? You want to know things, you want to find out things, you want to figure things out or find out where the thing is. This is going to be pretty good for that kind of a player who wants to play that kind of a character. Continuing on in level 3, still we get Adventurer's Atlas. Whenever you finish a long rest while holding Cartographer's tools, you can use that tool to create a set of magical maps by touching at least 2 creatures, one of whom can be yourself, up to a maximum number of creatures equal to 1 plus your intelligence modifier. So you're probably going to start off and be able to do 4, but it'll scale to 6. Maybe even higher if you get to epic levels, right? To 19, 20, and some additional epic boons. So that's pretty much your whole party, or most of your party to start with, if not the whole party to start with. That's good. Each target receives a magical map which constantly updates to show the relative position of all the map holders, but is illegible to all others. The map lasts until you die or until you use this feature again, at which point any existing maps created by this feature immediately vanish. While carrying the map, a target gains the following benefits. Awareness. The target adds 1d4 to its initiative rolls, and there is not a lot of ways to enhance your initiative rolls, so that's nice. You got the alert feat, which adds your proficiency bonus. You have the Gift of Alacrity spell, which adds 1d8. You've got like a Weapon of Warning that gives you advantage. The Assassin has advantage. Assassin Rogue has advantage. So a d4, that could really help out your allies, especially if you take like Fey Touched, because then you can take Gift of Alacrity as your first level option, and then you're handing out 1d4 plus 1d8 to everybody. Or maybe you just cast the Gift of Alacrity on the people who are like really slow, like that strength-based fighter and paladin, like help them, and the cleric, right? Who usually have low dexterity scores. Help them out by giving them a 1d8 and then also the 1d4. And then you carry around the Weapon of Warning, and you're the initiative guy. Like the party's like, yes, stand close to us. But as soon as initiative starts and we all, got our good initiative scores, now you run around the corner and hide back there so you don't die. And you're just the initiative guy. Okay. Positioning. The target knows the location of all other map holders that are on the same plane of existence as itself. When casting a spell or creating another effect that requires being able to see the effect's target, a map holder can target another map holder regardless of sight or cover, so long as the other map holder is still within the effect's range. So if you need to hit somebody with a healing word and they're like around a corner, you can't see them, you still can using this. And they can do it to each other now, which is a cool creative benefit. And with creative players and like creative battle maps that are not just plain flat square rooms, that's going to be pretty good. That's going to feel pretty good, and I like that. It's a nice feature. Next feature at level 3, they get a lot. Um Mapping magic. You gain the following benefits. Illuminated cartography. You can cast fairy fire without expending a spell slot, outlining the affected creatures as if in ink, I guess instead of fairy light. You can do so a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So half casters really benefit from some way to get a bunch of free castings, and so that's nice. Fairy fire, like I said, is good in tier 1. It falls off and pretty quick, especially as the marshals and other characters, other players in the party, or other marshals in the party are going to start getting ways to just always have advantage themselves or give themselves advantage often. Like the barbarian just has reckless. Uh, Anybody with weapon mastery can have vex. Even ranged attackers can get vex, like with the short bow. So the value of this is actually maybe worse than it used to be in 2014 because of weapon masteries. But it's not bad. It's just not really great. And if this is going to be your premier feature, a little disappointing. Okay. Next, we get portal jump. On your turn, you can spend an amount of movement equal to half your speed, rounded down, to teleport to an unoccupied space you can see within 10 feet of yourself, or within 5 feet of another creature within 30 feet of you that is holding one of your adventure's atlas maps. You can't use this benefit if your speed is 0. So you're like jumping through portals, right? So you can either jump just to any location within 10 feet of yourself, or another one of those people that you gave a map to, you can jump to their location and be right next to them if they're within 30 feet. And that's without resource usage, right? There's no limit on that. You can just do it every single round all day long. And it doesn't take your bonus action nor your action. So you're the premier teleporter, right? Nobody else can do this as often as you can, as easily as you can, until they get like the epic boon of dimensional travel. Then somebody's teleporting as much as you are. But if you get that too, then you're doubling. You're doing it twice around. I don't know. I wouldn't get the boon of dimensional travel on this character because you don't really need to be teleporting twice per round. It just wouldn't. A lot of diminishing returns there. Okay, level 5, Guided Precision. Once per turn, whenever you cast a spell from your Cartographer spell list or hit a creature affected by your Fairy Fire with an attack roll, you add your Intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of the spell or attack. In addition, taking damage can't cause you to lose concentration on Fairy Fire. So first up, it adds to the damage of any Cartographer spell you cast. Or when you hit a creature that's under your Fairy Fire with an attack, effective your Fairy Fire with an attack roll. Okay. So this will apply to your like cantrips, which artificers do have a great list of cantrips, so that's nice. So this is a lot like the what the alchemist gets, right? Where they can add their intelligence modifier. They're limited by damage types, acid, fire, and poison. You're limited by any of your, well, it has to be your cartographical spell, I guess. So I take that back. You can't use this. This doesn't work on your cantrips. It only works on your cartographer spells. So you're talking guiding bolt, mind spike, uh, call lightning. That's it. Those are the only 3 damage spells you have. Guiding bolt, mind spike, call lightning, and you're going to add your intelligence modifier to those. So I take it back. That is pretty weak because those are not great. I mean, call lightning, that makes call lightning better because it's adding your intelligence modifier to every time you deal damage with it. Yeah. So every time you deal damage with call lightning, you're doing extra damage. That makes call lightning significantly better. I got to go back and read that spell to see if it's good enough to say you should maybe spend actually your concentration and your action every turn using it. Maybe. But Fairy Fire is not great, and the fact that it boosts your attack damage when you hit somebody under Fairy Fire is not great because you only ever have 1 attack. So you're talking about, unless you have, there's some creative ways to enhance this, or maybe you go through multi-classing and get extra attack. You're talking about adding your intelligence modifier to the damage of 1 attack per round. and it would be an attack roll, so that would work with your firebolt cantrips and things like that. It's just not, I don't know. It's okay. And maybe as you were seeing that they are so focused on the fairy fire spell, you were thinking, hey, I'll get that Lorwyn feat, Child of the Sun, so that now I can enhance my fairy fire with all these free uses of fairy fire so that I can't have my concentration broken on it. But no, they gave it to you right there anyway. So don't do that. Don't take that background just so you can do that, because you get it for free at level 5. All right, continuing on, level 9, Ingenious Movement. When you use your Flash of Genius, you or a willing creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of yourself can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see as part of that same reaction. So this is interesting. Okay, first up, it does not have to be the target of your Flash of Genius that teleports. So it could be anyone that you see. You could use Flash of Genius on character on your ally, A, and you could make ally B be the one that teleports. So that's nice. More flexibility, more teleporting, helping your party teleport around. Um, Level 9, a lot of people are going to have a way to teleport or get extra movement, but not everyone. And so this will be good. And it's a part of that same reaction. So no additional action economy required, no additional spell slots required. You're getting a lot of teleporting without spending any spell slots, which is what you need as a half caster. So that's good. But it does have to be a spot up to a unoccupied space that you can see. It can't be an unoccupied space they can see. So you got to keep that in mind. Make sure that they teleport to a space you can see. Which will come up sometimes, but not always, where they could see a spot you can't and want to teleport there, but now they can't, right? But most of the time it's going to be fine because they're going to want to teleport to a spot that you can see anyway. I guess it's another good reason to make sure that you can stay out there in the battlefield. Like, don't run around corners and hide, because then you can't help people with this because they can't teleport. They can only teleport to spaces you can see. So that's interesting. It's okay. A lot of teleporting on this class, and it just not a lot else. So, all right, let's move on. Level 15, Superior Atlas. Your Adventurer's Atlas improves, gaining the following benefits. Safe Haven. When a map holder would be reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, that creature can destroy its map. The creature's hit points instead change to a number equal to twice your artificer level, and the creature is teleported to an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you or another map holder of its choice. This is like a group, save from death kind of thing. And these are okay, but never great. Like, the whole point of everything you're doing as you're playing this game is to try not to drop to 0 hit points. So you're kind of working against this. And so making this like a big part of a major feature that you get, and that's most of what you get at a level, just feels bad because you're not going to use it most of the time. But the fact that you can use it on anyone that has the map, which would be the whole party, it does make it a lot better. And there's no limit, right? Like, the limit is they destroy their map. So if you give this out to the whole party, all 6 of you have one of these maps, then all 6 of you now get this feature. So as far as that goes, this is the best feature, right? This isn't just you. This is you protecting everybody in the party, and each of them can do it once per long rest, right? Because that's when you recreate the maps, is after a long rest. So yeah, this is one of the better features of that kind. Still, and so you'll use it more often because it's more likely that somebody in the party is going to go drop to 0 hit points. It won't happen every adventuring day, but every few days it should be happening if your DM is, giving you challenges like they should, right? Okay. Then the second feature we get at level 15 is Unerring Path. If you are one of the map holders of your Adventurer's Atlas, you can cast Find the Path without expending a spell slot, without preparing the spell, and without needing spell components. Once you use this benefit, you can't cast it again until you finish a long rest. It's a 6th level spell, so I guess it's cool that you get a 6th level spell as a half caster, because you couldn't normally get access to that. But this is not a great spell. I don't think I've ever seen a player use it. Potentially, it has value if you're like lost or trying to figure out the fastest way to get somewhere. But frankly, exploration is one of the pillars of the game, right? And figuring out how to go, where to go, and exploring the dungeon is part of the fun. So I think that's why I've just never seen a player cast this, because they're not ever pressed for time to get through a dungeon. I mean, that kind of thing comes up in Waterdeep Dragon Heist, where you're pressed for time and you're trying to accomplish something quickly. But I can't think of another time maybe one or two other adventures that I've run that are, I only run published adventures. Maybe one or two other times where finding a path um, had a time component and you needed to do it quickly, where this would have helped that. So it's super rare that you're going to even care to cast a spell, and that just is not cool. That your 15th level ability is a set of features. One is a feature where everything you guys are trying to do is make it not happen, where nobody drops to 0, and the other feature is one that you may never use because it's so circumstantial you don't care, and that's your whole 15th level feature. So that's a bummer and unfortunate. All right, overall, I'm gonna go back and like rank things with a video and do it in detail after I've had a few more hours and a day to like sit down and noodle on it, get some feedback from other people. But I would say that the Cartographer is the new weakest Artificer subclass, unfortunately, right? And that's a bummer because it's the new one, right? It is now the weakest. The Alchemist is better than this, and that was the weakest, and they buffed that one a fair bit. I don't know if it's like A rank stuff. I don't know if it competes with other people with other classes, but it's a lot better than this. It's a better healer than this. I think it's a better support class than this. Um, I don't know if your party has no teleporters, like nobody's taking Fey touched and nobody's a wizard and nobody's right, and they just don't have nobody's an archfey, warlock, things like that, and just the whole party just doesn't have any teleportation capability. Then your value will go way up as a cartographer, right? So I think the party composition is going to matter more, right? And so that's where just I always encourage you, discuss as a group what you're each going to play before it starts, before session 1, whether it's in the session 0 or in a chat Discord. As you're all making your characters, talk everybody about what you're wanting to play. And if somebody says, hey, I really want to play the Cartographer Artificer, maybe everybody intentionally say, okay, well, I'm not going to take Fey touched, and I'm not going to lean into all these features of getting teleportation myself because you're going to give me teleportation. I'm going to rely on you to help me, and then you're engaging in teamwork, and that's going to be fun. But this is like not a great healer. It's a B support class with the teleporting, and it doesn't really add anything else. It's like this jumbled, mixed bag of support features and a little bit of damage and a little bit of like a very little bit of healing, and it doesn't really double down and focus on anything as a role to really. And the Artificer base class is still not an A at anything in tier 1. Maybe not even tier 2, and the subclass really needs to bring a lot of features to at least focus on one role so that subclass and that character can be really good at one role, and this doesn't do it. It just gives you this weird hodgepodge of features that don't really synergize and don't really help each other. None of them are really great. So sad to say, this is new and fun and exciting, but not strong. But you might still have fun with it, right? Certainly a cool flavor, a cool theme, cool fantasy. All right, that's enough for now. Thanks for watching. Remember to be cool with each other when you play D&D. If you don't have enough D&D in your life, check out the links in the descriptions. You can join me on Discord, start playing games, or get stuff from my Google Drive. And remember to be cool with each other when you play D&D because it's a game and it's for fun. All right, catch you next time.